is a very interesting set that we are going to look at coming from XAT 2025 paper. It says that these are the plots which depicts the average monthly income. Now, first thing that we want to focus on is average monthly income of what? Of males and females in the 10 cities in the year 2005 and 2015. So they are taking the average monthly income of males in a certain city in 2005 and they are benchmarking that against the average monthly income of males in 2015. So there are two charts that have been given to you. In city A, you have males and females. The average monthly income of those have been plotted on 2005 for 2005 and 2015 for 2015. The 10 cities are marked as A to J are different population sizes. This is also something that you have to keep in mind because the average depends upon the sum total of all of those individuals divided by the number of individuals. So the average will depend upon the number of individuals as well, right? Now for a fair comparison, to adjust for inflation, incomes have been scaled to the period of 2025 prices. That means, let's say if there is a value of 100 rupees today and you can purchase something with that 100 rupees today, 5 years down the line, the same thing cannot be purchased at 100 rupees. It has to be purchased at a higher value because of the inflation or the price increase that you are talking about. So all of the prices of 2005 and 15 have been adjusted and then plotted on this particular graph with respect to 2025 prices is what the question is talking about. Now each red dot represents the average monthly income of females. So red is females and each blue dot represents the average monthly income for a particular city for males. Now they are defining something which is called as gender gap. Gender gap for a city for a particular year is defined as the absolute value. Now what do you mean by absolute value? It doesn't matter whether it is positive or negative. You have to take the positive value and what positive value of what? Monthly incomes of male minus the average monthly income of female. Even if that turns out to be negative, you will take that positive value and call that as your gender gap. That is your absolute value, right? So these are the things that have been defined and you have the graphs available with you. Now let's move on to the questions. This is your first question. In which city did the gender gap in terms of 2025 prices change the least from 2005 to 2015 in terms of percentages? Instead of calculating for all the cities from A to J, let's just go by the options and calculate for each of the city and then we will decide which one is the lowest. So let's go to the city J first. Where is the city J? Now another thing that you need to understand in this particular graph is one of these divisions is corresponding to 1.25 thousand. Two of these divisions put together will turn out to be 2.5 thousand. Of course, then 4 of these divisions put together will turn out to be 5,000, 7.5 thousand for 7 divisions, and for 8 divisions it will turn out to be 10k, right? So this is something that we need to understand so that we can easily navigate through the graphs. Now, if you look at the city J, I look at this. This is 2 divisions, this is 4 divisions, and this is 6 divisions, right? 6 divisions will correspond to what? 7.5 thousand, right? What about the city J over here? What is the difference? It is 5,000. So from 2005 to 2015, the gender gap has reduced and the gender gap was 7.5 thousand over here and this is 5,000 over here. So it is 2.5 divided by the base value of 2005, which will turn out to be what? 7.5. 2.5 divided by 7.5 into 100 is what we are going to do. We are going to leave it in terms of fractions. So let's say it is 1 by 3, which is 33.33% for city J. We have to find out the least, right? Look at the city C. If you look at the city C, it is starting from here and going all the way up to here. So it is 2 divisions, 4 divisions, 6 divisions and 8 divisions. So it is 10k for the city C for the year 2005, and for the city C, it has reduced once again to 7.5. So 10 minus of 7.5 will give you what? 2.5 over a base of 10. Is what we are looking at. So that turns out to be approximately 25. That turns out to be 1 by 4, which is 25%. So for city C, it is 25%. For city J, it was 33.33. City D, if I look at this is again 2 divisions, 4 divisions, 6 division and 8 division, which is effectively 10k. And if you look at it, it has again reduced and it has become 7.5. So 10k minus 7.5, which will be 2.5 divided by 10. That will also give you 1 by 4, of course. So for city C and D, it is equal, which is 25%. City E. So if you look at this 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10 divisions. 10 divisions, each division is turning out to be what? 1.25, so 12,500. 12.5k is what you are looking at over here. And if you look at the city E in 2015, it will turn out to be 7.5. So 12.5, 7.5, the difference is 5 over a base of 12.5. 5 over a base of 12.5 is what we are looking at. So which will effectively turn out to be 50 by 125 as a ratio. And that will turn out to be 2 by 5, which is about roughly about a 40%, right? Now look at the city I. If I look at the city I, it is 2 divisions, 4 divisions, 6 division and 8 division, which is 10k. And look at the city I over here, 2 division, 4 division, 6 division and 8, which is again 10k. So the gender gap has neither increased nor reduced. So it's a 0% change, and hence your answer turns out to be option E, because all the other had certain percentage changes. So city I is the least in terms of percentage, in terms of change in the gender gap, right? Now let's move on to question number 18th. Which of the following statement about the average monthly income of 10 cities as represented in the plot is definitely false? First thing that we have to focus on is there can be some statement which can be true, which can be false. We don't have to mark those statements. We have to mark these statements which are definitely false. So in any case, if I can prove the statement to be true in any case, then that is not my answer. I have to ensure that in every case that particular statement must be false, and that is what my answer should be. Now in terms of 2025 prices, so we don't have to do any changes over there, that is given to you. The median monthly income of men of 10 cities. So for each city, you are going to look at the median monthly income of men of all 10 cities. So you are going to plot the salaries of men from all 10 cities and look at the median salaries in 2005 and 2015 and compare these two values and say that the median monthly income of women of 10 cities combined, both in 2005 and 15, the median monthly income of men in 10 cities combined was higher than the median monthly income of women in 10 cities combined in 2005 to 2015. Now the problem with this particular statement is that I don't know how many men are there in each city, how many women are there in each city, how is their values given. That is also something that we don't know. So this can be true, this can be false. There's nothing on the question which can tell me that it will be definitely false. So maybe true, maybe false is what the understanding of statement A is, and hence that is not our answer. Look at statement B. In terms of 2025 prices, the average monthly income of women of 10 cities combined, average monthly income of all 10 cities combined was less than 22,000 in 2015. So they are only referring to 2015. They are referring to women of all 10 cities and they are saying that it was less than 22,000. So look at the average monthly income of females in 2015. Red dot is what we are looking at. So this is turning out to be 25. So average for this particular city is more than 25. Even if I take all the females and try to take the average, this city is not going to pull down the average because the average over here is 25 and we are saying that it is less than 22,000. Now if I look at 22,000 mark, all of these cities are actually above 22,000 mark for females or equals to 22,000 mark except the city D. Now understand this thing that the city D is at 20,000. Now if there is a higher population in city D for females in comparison to the female population in the other 9 cities, then what is going to happen is that the average will be pulled closer to 20,000, which will be lesser than 22,000. So it depends upon the population of each of the city, which has not been given to us. Maybe true, maybe false is what the answer should be for statement B also, because it will depend upon the population of females in city D. Look at the third statement. In terms of 2025 prices, the average monthly income of men 10 cities combined was less than 30,000 in 2005. Let's look at 2005 and look at men, and they're saying that the average monthly income was less than 30,000. This is more than 30,000. This is also more than 30,000. Where is 30,000? Over here. If you look at all of the cities and underline the word all of the cities, the average monthly income of men is either 30,000 or more than 30,000. So if I take the entire population of a particular city that the average is 30,000, then it is not going to pull the average of all of the 10 cities put together lower than 30,000, because everybody can be presumed at 30,000 in that particular city. So there is not even a single city where the average monthly income of men in 2005 is less than 30,000, and hence there is no chance that the average monthly income of men across 10 cities in 2005 will go lesser than 30,000. So this is our answer, which is definitely false. So option C becomes the answer, which is definitely false. You have to look at the option choice, which is definitely false. We've gotten down to our option choice, which is definitely false, right? Let's look at question number 19. Rupees 100 in 2025 is worth rupees 60 in 2015 prices and rupees 25 in 2005 prices. Now understand this thing, that they are giving you the scaling factor. What is the scaling factor? Rupees 100 in 2025. So if I take 2025 rupees 100, that corresponds to how much? That corresponds to rupees 60 in 2015. So what is the multiplication factor? All of these prices were given to us in 2025 prices, right? So this value that I'm looking at over here, for example, is 32.5 thousand with respect to 2025, right? So with respect to 2015, what will happen? 1 rupee of 2025 will correspond to 3 by 5 rupees, 60 by 100, which will turn out to be 3 by 5 rupees. So every value present over here in 2015 should be multiplied by 3 by 5 in order to get to the pricing of 2015. Similarly, if I look at 2025 and compare it with 2005, you will realize 100 rupees corresponds to 24 rupees of 2020, 25 rupees of 2005, right? So 1 rupee will correspond to what? 1 by 4 rupees in 2005. Clear? So every value over here in 2005 must be multiplied by 1 by 4 to get down to the unscaled pricing in that particular year, right? Now, based on the given plots, which of the following statement about unscaled incomes, that is the income before adjusting for 2025 prices, cannot be correct? It cannot be correct. That means it should be definitely false in every situation, is what the question is talking about. All right, fair enough. Let's go to the first statement. Average unscaled income of men in city E. Average unscaled income of men in city E. So we are looking at men, we are looking at city E, increased by about 140%. When you increase anything by 140%, it becomes 2.4 times of itself from 2005 to 2015. So they are comparing men, city E, 2005 to 2015 unscaled income. So let's go to city E and look at the income of men over here, which is 32.5. And if I look at the unscaled income, the multiplication factor for 2005 was 1 by 4. Now, if I multiply this value by a 2.4, because it is an increase of 140%, it should give me the price of 2015 unscaled value for the city E. Unscaled value for city E is what? 32.5, which is the same in terms of 2025 prices, but you will multiply it by 3 by 5. So this is what should happen. This value present over here should come down to this value. If that is the case, then that statement is true. Otherwise, that statement is false. Now, if you look at this 32.5 into 1 by 4 into 2.4, you will realize this is 0.6 over here, correct? And 3 by 5 is what? 0.6. That means these two values are actually equal. So this statement is true for us. Clear? Now go to the statement B. Average unskilled income of women in city G. Now what are they looking at? They are looking at women. City G increased by about 120% from 2005 to 2015. Very similar to the previous statement. You have to figure out the unskilled income of women in city G. What is city G over here? This is the unskilled this is the scaled income of 30,000. 30,000 multiplied by 1 by 4. That is the unskilled income of 2005, and that increased by about 120%. When you increase anything by 120%, you multiply it by 2.2. This value should turn out to be equals to this particular value in city G, which is 27.5 multiplied by 3 by 5. If that is the case, then we are fair with this. If not, then it is not correct. That is what the question statement is. Now let's look at this. If I can cancel a 2 from the denominator, it will become 1.1 over here, and that is going to be 15 into 1.1, right? So if it is 15 into 1.1, I am looking at 5 over here. 5 5s are 25 and 5.5. So what is the value that I'm getting? 1.1 into 5 into 3, correct? 1.1 into 5 into 3 is the value over here. What is the value over here? 1.1 into 3 into 5. So this statement is also true, right? Now, let me remove and create a bit of space for ourselves. Now, let's look at the statement C for that matter. It says that the average monthly income of women was about 15,000 in city in 2015 in city H. You are looking at city H and you are looking at average monthly income of unskilled income of women is 15,000 in 2015 in city H. Let's go to city H and calculate the unskilled income. City H, it is 25 and you should multiply it by 3 by 5. If you do that, it will turn out to be 15,000. Correct? So this statement is also true. There is absolutely no problem with that statement as well. Look at this. The unskilled gender gap. So you have to first look at the gender gap. You have to unscale that. Of all 10 cities from 2005 to 2015 has reduced. That's what the question is talking about. If I can prove for one of the city that it has not reduced or it has stayed the same or it has increased, then I'll be able to answer the problem, right? Now, you can always choose to find out the value for each of the city, and that's the lengthier way to look at this. You have to look at your diagram and the graph which is given to you and try and understand which can be a probable place where this can be falsified, right? Now, if you look at the city A, gender gap has reduced. I can see that gender gap is reducing, right? In terms of 2025 pricing, I understand that. But can I look at it that where the gender gap is increasing? That is my most probable way of falsifying this particular statement, right? Now, that is what brings me to city G. And look at city G, the gender gap has actually increased in terms of 2025 pricing. This is our first point which I should ideally evaluate and see that if it has increased, then this statement is false, right? Look at the gender gap over here. It's a gap of 2 units. 2 units corresponds to 2.5 and multiply that by 1 by 4. This is the gender gap, unscaled gender gap in 2005. What is the unscaled gender gap in 2015? It is 27.5, 32.5. So it's a difference of 5K multiplied by 3 by 5. So what is the gender gap over here? The gender gap is 3 in terms of unscaled pricing, correct? What is the unscaled value over here? It will turn out to be 0.6 something. Has it increased? Yes, it has increased. What is the statement saying? The unscaled gender gap reduced in all 10 cities. Has it reduced in all 10 cities from 2005 to 2015? No. So this is a definitely false statement. It cannot be correct, and hence option D should be the answer for this question.